for the pets, an emotional thing, exclusively which cannot save the world for the pets. It cannot better the world, it is only an emotional outlet for those who are not smart enough to see past it and to live their, their lives of pure will and consumerism. Again, sex is depicted the same way. She, despite being a devout Christian, has premarital sex, fornication, out of nowhere, out of a very, very minor will. Southeast Asians are a little less slutty than Western European women, and Western European women don't usually act like that. So sex is a commodity, but of course it is a Hollywood film and it needs to be sped up, so maybe I'm being a little facetious there. Now, going to the main subject. Matt Damon in the film is a completely new male. He is a new male, as it is called, or a beta cuck, or whatever you're going to call it. He worships, like every liberal, he worships novelty. And he doesn't worship justice, he simply worships novelty. Novelty is a virtue. Justice and morality and ethics are not eternal values connected to truth. What dominates the world is virtue connected to status. And the status is greatly relevant based upon novelty of what is occurring within the current moment. So, for him, the novelty of being this tall is what inspires him to do it. He is not inspired necessarily by the whims of his wife. He simply grabs her and pulls her along and ends up divorced because of it. He attempts to force her and then feels betrayed by such an action, as if he could not predict it. Later in the film, he nearly joins a essentially doomsday cult based on global warming that created shrinking people on another emotional whim. He's completely devoid of rationality. Rationality, of course, is what separates man from nature. Well, not necessarily nature, but it is effeminate to be irrational. Rationality is what gives you strength over the world and lets you outsmart and defeat it. Now, he is a very irrational and completely dependent on emotions and an effeminate male. Now, to get into kind of little odd ends with Matt Damon's character. The film goes into modern male sexuality with this trilemma in the 21st century male, white male that he is faced with. He has three options. One of the options is mentioned, but the average looking 21st century white male has three options, at least from his mid-20s on, sexually, or marriage-wise, long-term relationship-wise. Single mothers, race mixing, so importation of Southeast Asians with his Vietnamese girlfriend, or morbidly obese women. Essentially, unless he is extremely high status, those are his only propositions. And the film somewhat explores this, and explores single motherhood. So maybe that gets a pass there. Another thing that liberals like to talk about is Scandinavia worship. So in this film you have the worship of Scandinavia as a utopia. I'm sorry I'm doing that so much. I am going into my normal voice, and I'm not going into Nazbol voice because I'm going into a pretty extensive criticism of this film. Liberals see Scandinavia as the utopia, and as such, the invention comes from Norway. The Norwegians create a system. In the system of the midget people, the 5-inch people, the 2 quarters stacked together people, They would end up becoming a new species under my understanding taxonomy, because they wouldn't be able to mate with normal-sized humans. At least a small woman couldn't be impregnated with a large man's seed. Regardless, regardless, they worship Scandinavia, and Scandinavia is depicted as multiracial. Every single couple. There's a montage near the ending of the film because the Scandinavians, who were the first commune, fear global warming, and they retreat before it into a bunker like a cult to hide from global warming's supposed consequences as methane burns into the atmosphere. Now, as they're watching the sun go down, every single couple shown is misogynation. Whether it is the more celebrated by feminists black male with a white female, or the far less common black female with a white male. I believe there's 4 couples, and 3 of them are interracial couples that watch this within Scandinavia. And another thing is that they say that all crime within these little people communities does not exist. They're crime-free communities, which does not follow under their understanding of the existence of crime. They don't understand crime to deal with IQ, but at least they understand it to deal with social inequality, yet these societies have social inequality. Yet they're depicted as not having crime. So their understanding of Scandinavia is this multiracial utopia without crime. Obviously that's false. Another thing you might want to get at is global warming is depicted as like the complete apocalypse. But the liberal understanding of global warming is that it cannot be fixed. It cannot be fixed by nature. Only man can influence it. Essentially, the liberal, of course, is completely secular and worships material value and commodity and novelty. But even nature he does not respect, because he does not view global warming. He views it as a cataclysmic thing that man can cause in a very short period of time and nature cannot adapt around. As we know, regardless if you believe in global warming or not, the idea of a snowball Earth or what's the reverse of a snowball Earth? Infinite greenhouse theory is insane because it puts forth a theory that the Earth does not adapt within itself. We observe the adaptation of the Earth to different circumstances daily, yet liberals turn environmentalism not into this complex web, but a very simplistic understanding of good and evil, of man doing evil and man incapable of doing good, and the environment is good, and the environment only as a victim because they worship victimhood. Their understanding of globalism is the Earth is a victim and cannot save itself. And that is the story. Within their thing, they're pretty interesting here. The Earth is overpopulated, yet they do not show very many children in the film. It is, when they show this overpopulated Earth, it is often old people, so they even defeat it there. But the Earth cannot save itself. It can only be destroyed through small actions of human beings. It is destroyed permanently forever, leading to human extinction regardless of humanity's will to change it. So that's essentially under a short, summarized, 25-odd-minute review of Downsizing. A interesting film that you should see in 10 years, just to look at what is currently thought by the elites in 2017. Maybe not necessarily the elites, but what you're supposed to think in 2017 in the United States. My Nazbol voice is gone because I had to talk for so long. But regardless, comrades, we must resist these liberals, and we must save ourselves and create a true environmentalism which will be based on a shared humanity and nature, which is dynamic, as opposed to a teleological understanding of destruction or non-existence of man, but a shared harmony between man and nature based on the dynamicism of both. Hail Nazbol!